Welcome to the ednewsstand podcast. I'm your host, Troy Reynolds, and this is Season 4, Episode 5 of the podcast. This episode is titled The 9 Pillars of Digital Citizenship because it was Digital Citizenship Week, and I think that providing resources for schools about digital citizenship is very important. That includes Google's Be Internet Awesome curriculum, now integrated with Pear Deck. In TikTok Tech, I'm going to tell you about a teacher that created contact card magnets for parents and give you a link to her Teachers Pay Teachers site. Finally, in Tech Refresh, I provide you with a link to all of Common Sense Media's free digital citizenship curriculum. We've got a lot to get to, so let's not waste any more time. Let's dive in. There's a lot of information in the newsletter this week, and so much, in fact, that I had to create a Wakelet to provide all of the information and some of the resources that I found. So you're going to have to click some links if you want to dive a little bit deeper into the 9 pillars of digital citizenship. And then if you're also looking at some of the other resources that I'm going to provide with regard to Digital Citizenship Week and digital citizenship itself. And I'll show you where a lot of those resources are and talk about a lot of the information that I found with regard to digital citizenship. But first, let's talk about TikTok Tech. So you can see a trailblazing teacher provided this way to create contact cards for parents, and I thought this was awesome. So I know a lot of people put contact information, they have it on their website, they have it on the school page where you might teach, maybe you send something home with the students, but I thought this was awesome. She provided the template on her Teachers Pay Teachers page, so the link is there at the top. But it's just she used PowerPoint. You could use Google Slides or Keynote or whatever, and it's a 2-inch by 3.5-inch slide. And when she prints it out on cardstock and laminates the cardstock and then adds magnets. So if you want to print it out on magnet paper or whatever sort of way that you want to provide it as a magnet, then parents can put it right on their refrigerator, which is pretty awesome. A lot of the icons that she uses with the contact card came from various icon websites, and I provided you with a bunch of resources for that. So there's Flat Icon, the Noun Project. You can get them in Canva. I've talked about Canva a whole bunch on here. If you use the education account for that, you have so many more resources, and it's free for educators. Other places you can get icons is FreePick, and then you can create QR codes easily on QR stuff, or you can create them very, very easily right in Google Chrome. You can also include your Bitmoji and any other resources that you might have with your contact card. So if you are on Apple, you can certainly use your Memoji for that as well. So check out a trailblazing teacher's TikTok video linked here in TikTok Tech and create your own contact card for parents and send it home with your students and allow them to stick it right on the refrigerator. Next is Tech Refresh. Common Sense Media is what I'm focusing on now. I love Common Sense Media. I think their curriculum is great. It builds on itself very well from grade level to grade level. They have free digital citizenship curriculum for grades K through 12. So if you need to get curriculum for your students, you want to integrate that into your lessons, there is a link for the interactive lessons and activities. And with the lessons and activities, they are free. All you have to do is sign up for an account, and the account is free. And they all are Google Workspace curriculum based. If your district purchased Nearpod and purchases the add-on, the digital citizenship add-on for that, then you get all of the Common Sense Media lessons in Nearpod. And so you can just roll them out. You can edit them yourself and change them in any way that you want, or you can just roll with what they have. And in the lessons, you get the lesson slides with definitions and explanations about the different things that they're trying to cover. You get videos that they have made themselves and that they have attached. You have customizable resources available for you, and there are also bilingual materials if you have English second language students in your district. At the very bottom of Tech Refresh, we have Media Education and Advocacy. That is their overall website. So if you are looking for other resources about digital citizenship and you want to look at movies or TV shows or video games that are out and see if they're right for your child, you can look at their website and they will give you detailed reviews of that. They also have other things with regard to advocacy about being safe online. So check out all of the resources available at Common Sense Media. Let's dive into the heart of the newsletter this week, and that is the 9 pillars of digital citizenship. So I started looking at this from neolms.com, and I'm going to go through their infographic here as we work through some of the information here on the podcast. And I've also done a little bit more research on each pillar just to take a deeper dive into some of the information because I think it's really important. And because otherwise I could just roll through these and read these to you, but you can read them or you can look them up for yourself. I wanted to try and find other resources for you to show you how important all of these different pillars are with regard to digital citizenship. So you can find the Wakelet up on the link at the top of the newsletter. Click on that. I will walk you through that here in just a moment. But before I get to that, I talked about Common Sense Media working with Nearpod and Google Workspace. Well, now Google has their own digital citizenship curriculum, Be Internet Awesome, which is great. If you haven't used that, it is a really wonderful tie-in. So you can use Common Sense Media, also use Be Internet Awesome for Google. They have online video games that students can play. They have printable worksheets, a printable curriculum that you can use. However, the reason I mention this now is because they have integrated with Pear Deck. So if you are a big Pear Deck user, there's a link at the top, the Pear Deck icon, which is right next to me kind of climbing a rope down with my Bitmoji from the top of my newsletter. If you click on the little Pear Deck link, it will take you to the information all about the integration for Be Internet Awesome and Pear Deck. So you can see that they have slides and flashcards by Pear Deck tailor-made for the Be Internet Awesome curriculum. The first area to Be Internet Awesome curriculum is Be Internet Smart Share with Care. This is helping kids understand that what they post can be forwarded, copied, and found is crucial to staying safe online. Teach students how to recognize and steer clear of potential embarrassing or even dangerous situations that could have lasting consequences on their digital footprint. Next is Be Internet Alert. Don't fall for fake. So many details that raise red flags for adults can be overlooked by kids. Help them learn what they are, what to look for, and how to trust their gut when they encounter suspicious or possibly harmful emails, websites, and apps. The third area is Be Internet Strong, securing your secrets. This area helps students understand that privacy is more than just what they choose to share or not share online. This lesson helps students understand what information should be private and safeguarded and what they need to do to keep it that way. The fourth area is Be Internet Kind. It's cool to be kind. The golden rule is just as important online as it is IRL, in real life. The internet can be a truly great place to learn when comments, conversations, and content are positive. Help students see how to make choices that disempower bullying behavior and create healthy, productive spaces to interact. And the last area is Be Internet Brave. When in doubt, talk it out. This area reinforces lessons that parents and educators have taught from early childhood. When kids come across something questionable, they should feel comfortable talking to a trusted adult. Adults can support this behavior by fostering open communication at home and in the classroom, which really is what this is all about. And there's an article that I have in my Wakelet about just starting basic, easy conversations to get that communication going about digital citizenship. So with Google and Pear Deck, you have the ability to control the pace of the lesson, view student answers from their Pear Deck teacher dashboard, and share completed lessons with students and parents through Google Drive. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what Pear Deck is, 100% web-based, all you have to do to get started is just install the Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on. And let me show you how to do that. In Google Slides, up on the top, you have add-ons. If you click on add-ons, you can go down to Get Add-ons. And in here, it might pop up as one of the most popular choices because it is one of the most popular choices. But there it is right for me in the top left corner. So it's just an add-on that brings your Google Slides to life with interactivity. To install the Pear Deck add-on, you click on the link there in the top corner of the add-ons, and then you have the blue button to install. Once you've installed the Pear Deck add-on, under your add-ons, you will just choose the Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on, and then you can open the add-on, and you can see here that mine has already opened, and I can choose what I want to do with this lesson. I can start my lesson, I can add text, choice, numbers, websites, and then if you upgrade the version, you can do some drawing and some dragability in your Pear Deck. So again, very simple. Another nice thing about this is if you want to install it for your district and you know who the district admin is, you can install it in a shared folder in your Google Drive. But to read more, just click on the little Pear Deck link in the newsletter and you can read all about Pear Deck and Be Internet Awesome's curriculum. Let's talk first about my Wakelet with regard to the 9 pillars of digital citizenship. So you can see when you click on the Wakelet link here, you have the infographic that I'm going to reference throughout this podcast right at the top from Neo LMS. I also have a website from Safe Sitter about the 9 lessons to teach children about digital citizenship. They also have a printable poster you can get there. ISTE has a nice article about digital citizenship lessons starting with just a simple conversation, so you can read that article. And then finally, medium.com has an article, Real World Hooks to Teach Digital Citizenship. So this deals similar to the 9 pillars and just simple starters for you and real world hooks to get students interested in learning about digital citizenship. As you scroll down, I have the 9 different pillars of digital citizenship, and you can read about some information with regard to those and find links to some extra research that I did with regard to each of the pillars. The first pillar that we're going to talk about is digital access. And although we live in a digital era, not everyone has access to technology. And as teachers, we should be aware of this digital divide. Not all students can afford a computer, a smartphone, and internet access. That's why educators need to provide suitable alternatives for each student's needs. One of the articles that I found was on the digital divide from Stanford on a research study that they did with regard to students. And so you can kind of read through defining what digital divide is and what they found with regard to the digital divide in students and at school. Now, Harvard Business School did another research project with regard to information that was pulled from the Fletcher School. And so this charts the U.S. digital divide and how the 50 different states stack up. So depending on what state you are in, you can look at where your state stacks up amongst the other 50 states. The 4 different areas that they looked at were infrastructure, so that's speeds, broadband coverage, and smartphone usage. They looked at inclusivity, which is broadband affordability, equity of access, and actual usage. They looked at institutions, so those are governmental strategies on broadband technology for school services, and local broadband solutions like municipal networks. The last area that they looked at was digital proficiency and how demographic profiles, education levels, and more shape how people navigate the digital world. If you can follow these lines, well, congratulations. The lines here for this chart that they posted in their article is really hard to read. But I did find the link to the Fletcher School, so you can look at each digital divide across the 50 states. So there is a little link in here that will take you down to your state, and you can click on your state, and it will walk you through all of the different usage. So you can look at broadband usage, smartphone usage, per capita income, and everything with regard to the state that you are living in. And you just scroll down and it will show you beautiful color-coded maps based on your state and all of the different areas that the digital divide looked at. The next pillar is digital commerce. Digital commerce highlights the necessity to tackle safety issues related to using money in the digital world. Technology is also used in the classroom to teach students about the various career paths they could choose in the future. Understanding how e-commerce works is a must, both as consumers and as potential entrepreneurs. ISTE has a great article regarding digital commerce where they talk about fraud and identity theft, secure sites, public computers and Wi-Fi, money management skills, consumer skills, and leveraging social media. All of these things that I think sometimes students take for granted, especially with regard to public computers and money management. There are so many goods and services out there now, especially with students watching YouTube videos and TikTok videos and seeing all these products and services and trying to figure out what is real or good to purchase and what websites might be safe to purchase some of these goods from. So digital commerce is I think a really big thing that maybe we sometimes take for granted. The next area is digital communication, and online communication has become so common that students forget that they're doing so in a virtual space where miscommunication happens often. And I know one of the lessons with regard to second grade in Common Sense Media talks about tone in digital communication. But also with digital communication, the internet has given a voice to anyone who needs it. In turn, this requires empathy and appropriate reactions from its users. Now, I found a research study that was published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology titled "It's Surprisingly Nice to Hear You. Misunderstanding the impact of communication media can lead to suboptimal choices of how to connect with others." And one quote that I pulled out of here was, the barrier may not stem from any limits in modern technology, but rather from age-old limits on human psychology. Fears about awkward interactions can push people toward less intimate communication media like text. Understanding this can help people make wiser choices about how to interact with others to maximize both their own and others' well-being. So this is very important because I think in our world and our technology that we have going on, what we're noticing, you can do everything digitally. Everything can go through your phone. You can order food through your phone. You can email, you can text, you can do all these things, and you don't ever have to talk to anyone. Everything's paid for digitally. So people, if you're ordering things, it all gets dropped off at your doorstep and there it is. You don't ever have to talk to anybody. So it's very important that we are teaching our students how to communicate, not just digitally, but how to communicate properly digitally. But then we also need to work with them on how to communicate in person, face to face. The next area is digital literacy, and this has been in the news for at least the last couple of years. Digital literacy also includes the ability to differentiate between real and fake content, which can have a negative impact on the lives of your students. Students need to learn which content is good for them and what they should avoid in order to lead a balanced life. A couple of resources that I found for this, one of them came from Western Sydney EDU in Australia, and they talked about these different areas of digital literacy. So there's information, data, and media literacies, digital creation, innovation, and scholarships, digital learning and development, communication, collaboration, and participation, digital identity and well-being, and information and communication proficiency. And if you want to dive deeper into this, you can read the article here on what digital literacy really is based on their definition. I also found another resource from the JISC, which talked about building digital capabilities, and these are the 6 different elements that are defined that were talked about in that other article from Western Sydney. The 5th area is digital etiquette. So we should make sure to teach students to become digitally fluent. Digital etiquette shapes students' online behavior to respond positively to online content. In this way, their online attitude is reflected in the real world and vice versa. So this has also been in the news, talking about Instagram and its influence on teens, and especially teenage girls. There is a wonderful article from the Wall Street Journal. If you want to read it, Parents, Here Are Teen Girls' Rules for Instagram. It was published on October 2nd. I definitely recommend, if you have a teenage girl and that girl is on social media, that you read through this. If you have a teenage boy, it can also be very beneficial for you to read through this. So definitely recommend this article from the Wall Street Journal. There's also some research from Common Sense Media that they did in 2019, and this talked about media use by teens and tweens. So we're talking students down to, I think, 11 years old, or maybe even a little bit earlier than that. But if you want to see some of the results of the research study that they did in 2019, here is a link to this article too. And there is a lot of information about how much media they are consuming, which different platforms that they might be on. This isn't really pre-TikTok, but it does date TikTok a little bit. But it will talk about a lot of the different platforms that students are on with regard to media use. So recommend these Wall Street Journal's article and this research study by Common Sense Media. The 6th pillar of digital citizenship is digital law. And in the online environment, there's room for both positive and negative interactions. And we know that. And we've seen countless news stories based on things people have done in the digital space that has caused them to be arrested and charged with many different violations. But digital law deals with legal rights and restrictions governing technology usage. This is to prevent any kind of online crime, no matter how serious. Students in the digital space now, as digital citizens, need to know the law and how it applies to them in particular, and so they aren't breaking any of these laws. I needed to really dig into this a little bit more and find some resources, but it is the responsibility to follow legal guidelines, policy, and rules, and that involves plagiarism, copyright, not just some of the more severe rules and laws that we may be breaking, but if you want to look at it from the school aspect of it, it really deals with a lot with plagiarism and copyright. So I provided links in the Wakelet with regard to plagiarism, both at the high school level and at the elementary level. And there's a great New York Times article on plagiarism and how to deal with that. And then a couple of websites related to copyright, both at the high school and the elementary level, for activities and lesson plans that you can use with your students in class. The 7th pillar of digital citizenship is digital rights and responsibilities. So the online world has its regulations, and a user has rights and responsibilities. The internet can also be used for harmful purposes, and anyone needs protection against cyberbullying, for instance. Schools should approach this subject in classrooms, hold students accountable for their actions, and also report any misconduct in the virtual environment. One aspect that I really focused on with regard to rights and responsibilities was the digital footprint, and there is a link from Kaspersky.com talking about what is a digital footprint and how to protect it from hackers. So you can go ahead and read through this article about your digital footprint and learn about all the boundaries and expectations while interacting online when sharing information, to be aware of your digital footprint. One thing I stress heavily with students at any grade level is They were born in a digital world, period. Facebook has been a thing. Smartphones have been a thing. Social media is a thing. So regardless of whether or not they are on social media with their own personal accounts, they are on social media with pictures. If they're at school, we're taking pictures of our students. We're posting them on our websites. Family members are taking pictures at reunions or get-togethers, or maybe they're getting them through a text message. All of that is being put out into the world, so everybody has a digital footprint, whether you think you do or not. One of the funniest things and most relatable things that I have seen is Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec, when they have the drones from Grizzle, and he realizes that the drones have his 4-year-old's information and are sending things to the 4-year-old. And he's like, how is that even possible? And he throws away his computer. Great clip if you haven't had a chance to see it. If you don't watch Parks and Rec, but just wonderful. But students really need to be aware that they have a digital footprint, whether they realize it or not, and whether or not they believe, whether or not they are on social media. So they do have a digital footprint, period. The 8th pillar of digital citizenship is digital health and wellness. Students should be taught to protect themselves and others from potential harm and ask for help if they need it. Making use of online resources is a plus, but everyone should be aware of the dangers as well. One of the greatest books that I've read in a long time is Social Media Wellness, Helping Tweens and Teens Thrive in an Unbalanced World. And it was written by Anna Homayun. And it looks like this. You can order it on Amazon. It's amazing. I can't stress enough how wonderful this book is. One of the quotes that comes across right in one of the first few chapters is the technology creep. The online social world is creating another layer of distraction, and it should be addressed as a new language and cultural shift that provides different opportunities to connect and communicate. So what we are really saying is we need to work with students about empowering them to align their daily behavioral choices with goals and values. I was doing a little bit of research for Digital Citizenship Week, posting on TikTok. The average user on TikTok opens TikTok 8 times a day, and they are on TikTok for an average of 52 minutes. That's an average. When I talked with students about their use of social media, they always said usually right now they're mostly on TikTok and hours at a time. Not just like 52 minutes, the average user. They're on it for hours, just scrolling and watching videos. It is rivaling the amount of time students spend watching YouTube videos. So I can't stress enough how much I would recommend this Social Media Wellness book by Anna Homayun. I have all these tabs in here, and you probably can't see them, but there are so many tabs that I have. But she talks about the landscape of social media. She talks about background, where we've been, where we're going, health and wellness, physical wellness, academic wellness, conversations that we can have with students, and how we move forward. It's just a great read and really eye-opening for anybody in education or any parents that have teens and tweens using social media. The last pillar of digital citizenship is digital security. So security in an online world is very important. When using devices at school or at home, students should be aware of potential malware attacks. Teachers should explain how to prevent them from happening and how to protect their devices as much as possible. This talks very specifically about many areas. There are a couple of areas that I want to talk about with regard to digital security. So Vicki Davis has an article called Reinventing Writing 9 Key Ps having to do with security and privacy. That is passwords, privacy, personal information, photographs, property, permission, protection, professionalism, and personal brand. There are so many ways for people to get your information online, and we really need to let students and make students aware of how that information can be taken from users online. One specific way that I have seen highlighted on social media is when students take a picture, it geotags it. So we are seeing when they post it on Instagram or something, people on Facebook, people are going in and finding out the information on these pictures and where they were taken. And from there, you can maybe figure out somebody's location and where they might be, either on vacation or where they might live. So think about that and how that footprint of your photograph that you take and post online, that information can be written. There's also an article from Berekely Extension Cybersecurity that talks about cyber threats for teachers, cyber threats at home, and cyber threats for students. In this article, Cybersecurity in Education, you can see here that the tips and threats for students, there are 5 cybersecurity threats faced by students. There's data theft, mobile malware, malicious social media messaging, cam-fecting, and social engineering. And there are different tips that you can learn from reading through this article. And then there are also links to all of these different cyber threats for students. But again, there's cyber threats for teachers, at home, and for students in all of these areas. And in all of these areas, they all have additional resources and ways that you can try to protect yourself and your student. That covers the 9 pillars of digital citizenship. Once again, those pillars are access, number 1. Number 2, commerce. Number 3, communication, collaboration, and relationships. Number 4, literacy and fluency. Number 5, etiquette, respect, and cyberbullying. Number 6, law. Number 7, rights and responsibilities. Number 8, health, wellness, and balance. And number 9, security and privacy. I hope you take some time to look at some of these resources, or look at Common Sense Media or Be Internet Awesome's curriculum, and try to find a way to incorporate these resources in your classroom with your students. That's it for this episode of the Ed Newsstand Podcast. I really appreciate you listening to the podcast or watching the video version on YouTube, because I know your time is valuable. Please check out the resources in this week's newsletter, definitions about the 9 pillars of digital citizenship on neolms.com, and take a deeper dive into the links in my Wakelet all about the 9 pillars of digital citizenship. I've also provided a link to the Pear Deck and Google's Be Internet Awesome curriculum, and a huge thank you to a trailblazing teacher on TikTok for their awesome resource on creating contact cards for parents. And don't forget to check out Common Sense Media's digital citizenship curriculum on commonsense.org. For more EdTech resources, you can follow me on social media. You can find me on Twitter at ReynoldsTroy, and on Instagram and TikTok at ednewsstand. If you're listening on any podcast platform and would like to hear more, please like and subscribe to receive updates and have any new episode automatically downloaded for you. You can also revisit my previous episodes on any major podcasting platform like Spotify, Anchor.fm, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or Google Podcasts. You can also check out the video version of my podcast over on my YouTube channel, and check out any of the other video resources I have available. If you'd like to download my app to have my podcast and newsletters right on your smart device, please check it out at ednewsstand.glideapp.io and save it to your home screen. If you don't want the app but would like to check out my resources, please visit my website at ednewsstand.weebly.com. This is Troy Reynolds, and this is the Ed Newsstand Podcast. Hoping you were able to take away at least one idea for your classroom. Please be safe. Until next time.